For somebody, anyway.
Yeah. Post them pictures on Facebook like it never happened. Crazy.
That's messed up.
She's in love about every 2 months.
With different people.
Yeah. All right, here we go. All right, let's call to order the City of Grantville Council meeting, June the 12th, 6:30 p.m. Our first point will be, this is a special call meeting. And let's start with the agenda tonight is the pending litigation on a Jewel lawsuit, which we'll explain later. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Approve the agenda for the special call meeting.
Can you pull your mic down, Ms. Berry?
We're not on, Robin.
We're not on?
Let me type my mind.
Okay. Well, we're not going to wait for her. Look out the tab. Okay. My light's green.
Now it
It
is.
is now.
Okay. All right, do I have a
Okay,
motion?
I make a motion to approve the agenda for the special call meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
I make a motion to go into executive session.
For pending litigation.
For pending litigation.
Pending litigation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Folks, we'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. How are you? I'm good. How about you? Good.
He was on the council at
Which door?
Oh, this one. Oh, yeah. For a second.
I know.
Yeah. Feels fun.
Yeah.
Real chance. Real chance.
I'm gonna invite you to go one. Yeah, I think, actually, I think so. Oh, yeah.
Still like play.
Remember who
I was for, I think sometime I was about 30 years. Come on. Where are they from? Reinhardt.
And so me and my sister, I'm like, I always have been like, I'm a child, there's some other children, she's 9 years old. And she's like,
Playing straight down.
I mean, we did that too.
We had.
Never made the cut, but
4 years older than me. So,
Yeah, I don't think Jim Shout transferred down the bank.
I'm all yeah.
Not when it comes to golf.
And I told her, oh, honey, the things that girls do to me growing up.
They used to live next door to my mom and dad.
I'm even grown now.
Place where you still live? Maybe he's not.
They're around.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, I guess I want to have some.
Maybe he's sitting over there, huh?
How you been?
Been better.
15. My husband was 18, so he was more mature.
I'm feeling better.
We told my sister, you can't go in this and we're going in there. She says, why? You took me off.
Do I have a motion to leave executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to go back into special call meeting?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. What we are voting on this evening stems from a lawsuit almost 4 years ago where Mayor Doug Jewell sued after the council voted to make a change in the charter, which should have gone before the state legislature instead. The case went to court. Doug Jewell won the case. However, his attorney's fees were not identified as to be paid in the case. Since then, his attorney and Doug Jewell have sued the city and various council members to have these attorney's fees paid. As the case has gone on, those amounts have increased. In addition, because our insurance deemed that this case was a continuation of the last case, our insurance is not covering our own attorney's fees. And I've tried to restrict our attorney. This would not be Mr. Mark Mitchell. We had to have a separate attorney, Mr. Thomas Mitchell, and he has advised us, as well as our own city attorney, that if this goes to court, we will lose. And the amount at that point might be $50,000. Therefore, we're going to settle with Doug Jewell for $18,500 and put this behind us. Do I have a motion?
A motion to settle this suit and the amount of $18,500.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to end the special call meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and from here, folks, we will go into our regular meeting. So please stand for invocation, pledge of allegiance. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Citizens' comments regarding agenda items. Ms. Cody.
My name is Selma Cody. I live at 214 West Grantville Road. I see that the ordinance having to do with the zoning issue in the Mill Village is on the work session agenda for this evening, which tells me it's probably going to be on your regular session agenda on the 24th, I guess. My question is, why are you all pushing this? I don't see why there's a rush on it. You did have a public hearing about it, but I just don't see it. I don't know what's trying to happen over there in that Mill Village. And is there any legal reason why this thing has to be voted on next session?
Yeah, we're just taking comments tonight.
So you're not going to respond?
No, ma'am. I think we'll talk about it when we get to the item on the agenda.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Before we approve the agenda, we actually have to add something to the agenda. I thought we had actually taken care of this, but after it being pointed out, we have not. We have a MEAG Power annual election coming up, and they still list Doug Jewell and Moody Hines as the delegates for that vote. So we have not voted to change the delegates on that, and that vote is coming in July, on July the 11th. So we don't have time. We've got to vote on this at the end of June. And this only came to us Friday in the afternoon. So we need to add this to the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I'd
Robbie,
like
please.
to add an item to the agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Mhm.
And the item is to approve a resolution providing for free, easily accessible public restrooms and water fountains at the parks located at 329 Griffin Street and the Community Center Park at 92 Post Street.
Okay, I mean, water fountains I know have a mechanical issue and need to be replaced. So I'm not sure what we would be voting on in 2 weeks from now. And I know we're trying to work out the bathroom issues. I'm not certain why that's a council issue at this point.
At this point, it's an issue because there's a scheduled event at the park on Saturday. And come to find out, the restrooms are locked and the water fountain's turned off.
Well, the water fountains, I think, have a mechanical issue. They're not turned off. I believe, Mr. Grisha, we only have someone looking at the water fountains.
We do.
So that's not a choice, that's a problem we're trying to solve. We hope it'll get done by the weekend, but I can't guarantee that.
Okay, that the reason for this item is we need to have free access to the restrooms.
Okay, but let me ask you again, whatever you put on tonight isn't voted on for 2 more weeks.
It needs to be voted on tonight because the event is Friday, it's
Well,
Saturday.
again, there's nothing the council has to vote on.
To approve,
To approve what?
to direct staff to unlock the bathroom so that we can use the
They
bathroom.
can't direct staff. You can't tell the workers what to do. We're trying to address this. Mr. Grieshaber and I talked about this today. We talked about it with Shelley. We're trying to get them open. We're trying to work out a schedule so that we can have the restrooms open from a certain period during the day, 6 days a week. It's a function thing. It's not a council thing. There's nothing you all can force here.
Well, a rule has been put in place by staff that if you want to use the restrooms, you gotta pay. If you want to have an event, you gotta bring a porta potty, and that is not acceptable. The bathrooms need to be open. They were put there for use for anyone who's using that park, for the skateboard ramp and the park. Those restrooms are put there to be used for those facilities. So having them locked, there's no reason to lock the bathrooms. But that was not something the city council put as a rule. We didn't put that in as a rule to
And
lock the bathrooms.
understand, the only reason it's currently an issue is we have staffing issues. We're trying to figure out how to open. Now, they're not going to be open 24/7. That's never going to happen. Never. But we are agreeing that we need to do something with those bathrooms to have them open for the people in the park. Shelley and I talked about it today as well. We're trying to get a solution. It's a more functional thing than anything else.
Well, you have two parks. You have one over on Post Street, and then you have the park on Griffin Street. Now, you have restrooms that are open over there, water fountains that are working. You don't have to pay to use the restroom. But then you come over to Griffin Park, you gotta pay to use the restroom.
Well, Post Street restrooms are only open as the splash park is open, because we have people in the splash park.
Well, they are open. They are open, and you don't have to pay to use them. And this procedure of charging a fee to use the bathroom is biased, and should be rescinded. And the city council has the authority to rescind that.
I don't believe we have a fee to use the bathroom, we have a fee to rent the facility.
We're not talking about the facility, Mayor, we're talking about the park.
Do we charge to rent the bathrooms?
I was told that I had to pay $250 to use the bathrooms at the park, or they weren't gonna be unlocked. If I didn't pay
Pull your mic in
$250.
front, please.
I believe Councilmember Berry said that she wanted to use the Malcolm Clemens Recreation Building.
No, I did not. If you look at the facility use form that I turned in, and I gave that to Shelley, it said we wanted to use Griffin Park, and we wanted the bathrooms to be unlocked.
The
We
outside,
don't, yes, the outside
outside
bathrooms.
bathrooms, and what did she say?
She said that she was told that I had to pay $250 to get the bathrooms online. So we don't need that building, we want the park. She
Well,
said you
then-
have to pay $250.
We will talk to Ms. Smith.
So this resolution is asking for freely accessible bathrooms.
Again, you can demand a resolution all you want. It's a human issue, it's a business issue of the city of Grantville employees. You can resolve all you want, but if I don't have anybody to open them, they ain't gonna be opened. Done.
Well, how can you open one park and not open the other?
Because we have people at the splash park manning the splash park. We have employees who are manning the splash park. We don't have employees manning Griffin Street. Again, we are trying to resolve this. We are going to open the bathrooms for you. And apparently in the use, I guess you filled out that you wanted the building and it was misunderstood. If you just want the bathrooms, we'll figure something out. But we're trying to figure something out for Griffin Street with the bathrooms.
Now, you're saying you're gonna figure something out. Now, we're making plans to do this is a Juneteenth holiday. This is a city holiday. It hasn't been, staff has not advertised it. They locked the bathroom doors. So what kind of message is that sending?
We didn't, locking the doors has nothing to do with holidays or anything else. We lock the doors because we don't want them vandalized. We open them up when the facility is being rented. We currently have not had a plan to just simply open them up for the park use in well over 2 years. So we are trying to address that problem now. We agree we need to have some bathrooms there. But let us please work through the issues because there's nothing the council can make happen tonight or in 2 weeks.
The council can make a motion that the bathrooms will be open. The council can do that.
I don't believe you
Council is in charge
can.
of facilities.
No,
That's
you're
part of
not.
our power. Yes, we are. It's in the charter. It's in the charter that we set the rules and the policies, and then the staff carries those out. The staff does not make the rules.
You
and
can't
charge
tell the
what they
staff
want
what to do. Section 2.09 of the
Charge
charter.
people things that's not in the. it's
We're not going
listed.
to, it was misrepresented as to what you wanted. We thought, I would guess they thought you wanted the whole building. Maybe that wasn't clear.
The facility use form says the park and open the bathrooms. It's in writing on the facility use form. When I came in and talked to Shelley, she was clear about it. She did not misunderstand that I wanted to use the whole building. I told her we don't need the building, we need the park and we need the bathrooms open. And it's not just for Juneteenth, it's for 4th of July is coming up. I mean, you're gonna have the bathrooms locked. This is the summer season where people use the parks. You can go down to the ballpark, the bathrooms are open. Even though they're not playing ball, you can go down and go to the bathroom.
Well, that's
You
the
can go to
county.
the library, the bathrooms are open.
That's the county.
And that's the county, but it's in Grantville.
It's the
So
county.
why
They
is
control it.
everything
We
locked
don't.
up in Grantville? Why are we locking up our facilities and not letting the citizens use it? When you come down here to City Hall, you can't go to the bathroom. All the doors is key locks
Well, we do that for security.
well, this building should be accessible to the taxpayers. And they
No,
should be
there
able
are
to use
working
the
areas that are
facilities.
private areas that we have security into.
The bathrooms are a private area. If you come down here to pay your water bill and you gotta go to the bathroom, but
You ask
the
us and we'll
doors are
let you
locked.
through the door. Exactly.
Well, to me, that doesn't seem like it's a very welcoming atmosphere when you're coming down to City Hall or going to any of our facilities. And nobody is complaining over at the Splash Park. They're happy little campers over there. But you go to Griffin Street, it's deserted. I went over there and talked to a guy that was on the ramp, on the skateboard ramp. And he says, I wish the bathrooms were open. I could bring my nephew down here and teach him a few skills. But the bathrooms aren't open, so I have to go to Noonan to use the skate park over there. So we need to do something about this. And it's not just for Juneteenth, it's for the rest of the season. There's a big sign out there that says that the park is open. I think it says 9.
Okay, Councilwoman Berry, we have a
9
lot on the
p.m.
agenda tonight. If you want to make a motion, for us to make a motion, we'll make a motion, and I will probably tell you it won't pass. So I'd rather you just let us work through it as officials, understanding we want to get the bathrooms open, but we have to work the logistics out.
the logistics of getting someone down there
Yes.
to take the lock off the door? Is
Of
that the
someone,
logistics?
of someone unlocking the door and locking it back. We're not gonna leave it open 24/7.
It should only be open during the hours the park is open.
Again, that requires an employee of the city to go down there, unlock it, and an employee of the city to go lock it back. Right now, you're asking basically, you know, the 5 employees we have who work in that department to go take care of that. On weekends included.
So you're saying you don't have funds to have somebody do
Can I
that?
say one thing?
Go ahead, Mr. Clark.
Okay, well, you know, I know Hugginsville does theirs at 10 a.m. in the morning, 7 p.m. at night. And Public Works opens it up at 10 a.m. and the police department closes it at 7 p.m.
And we're looking at something like that, but now, again, you're asking the police department to close it, and that may be okay, but that's a discussion I need to have with Chief Whitlock.
Okay, all right.
I don't disagree, we're looking at all
Yeah,
kinds of
yeah,
solutions.
that's all I, you know,
That's all I'm saying.
Can I call one of order so we can approve the agenda?
Yes.
Please?
All right. Let's have a motion to approve the agenda as amended with the item I put, we
With
voted,
the MEAC delegate.
with the MEAC delegates.
And you're not adding this item?
No, ma'am, we're not.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. All right. Discussion, second reading ordinance 2023-13, amending the zoning ordinance to amend Article 4, zoning districts and boundaries by adding his district historic mill village, HMB, and amend text for other purposes. Do we have to go through the details on this again, or I think we've been through it numerous times, so discussion. No discussion? Moving on. Discussion, second reading ordinance 2023-14, amending the zoning ordinance section 14-12, variance for maximum size of a directional sign. Again, we've had a lot of discussion. Any additional discussion?
This was already voted no by the P and Z, correct?
Correct.
No, there was voted no for them to change it permanently.
Correct.
This is just to allow people to apply for a variance.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
My question was how the sign got posted anyway, the sign that they were requesting.
I think we've already had that question. We've answered it. Any other questions? All right, moving on. Discussion, second reading ordinance 2023-15 to amend 5-172 alcoholic beverage license requirements, license required for sale, restrictions on applicant. We are conforming to state law and to county law on this by removing the requirement in one section of our ordinances that you have to be a resident here for 1 year. That is not something that other jurisdictions have. That's what we're removing. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question, Mayor. In the code, it says that 50% of all revenues derived by the city from the sale of beer and wine in a food establishment shall be deposited into an account to be named the Grantville Recreation Fund account and to be used exclusively for the development, building, enhancement, and maintenance of the recreation facilities in the city, and that no funds from this account shall be spent without discussion and agreement by majority vote of the council. Do we have a Grantville Recreation Fund?
We do now.
You do?
Yep.
You said we do now.
Yes.
What about when they adopted this regulation?
I have no earthly idea. Chances are
Because I
they
looked
didn't
at the
have one.
budget and I didn't see a fund that said
They probably didn't
Grantville
have
Recreation Fund.
They probably didn't have one.
So they haven't been putting 50%?
We haven't had anybody selling alcohol in Grantville for 7 years.
I have one question. Somebody asked me what was the cutoff time for selling alcohol in the city of Grantville?
Chief, what is it? Cutoff time?
In Grantville,
Selling alcohol, what's the cutoff time?
I think it's midnight.
Midnight.
Okay, so someone tried to ask me if it was 11:30 or 11 o'clock, I
I
wasn't
think it's
sure.
right at midnight.
Okay.
It's 11:30 or 11:45.
Okay.
It is, I thought it was midnight.
And there's no,
I know they close at 10 o'clock.
and there's no, like plans to like change that to like later time?
That's up to y'all.
I don't think we should.
Okay, all right,
That's
all right.
adequate enough.
Somebody asked me.
Okay. Did you have any more questions, Ms. Gray?
So you're saying at the present time, we don't have anybody selling food and beer and wine?
No, we do not.
We have some.
Selling beer and wine?
Mark, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, I guess that's true, he has been.
yeah.
So 50% of the revenues derived from the sale of that he pays to the city is supposed to go into the Grantville Recreation Fund.
Okay. So what we need to do is start tracking the taxes or the fees we collect on it. Because it's 50% of the money of the fees, it's not the profit of his sales.
Correct.
So we'll need to start tracking that and put it into our brand new recreation fund that we created. Good.
So we won't have to make people pay to go to the toilet and the park.
All right. Any other questions? Moving on, discussion, first reading ordinance 2023-16 to repeal ordinance number 2014-04, adopted February 24, 2014, adopting chapter 2, article 9, procurement. Mr. Grisha,
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
could you pull the microphone in front of you, please?
Yes, sir, I will. I was looking on the alcohol beverages. Pardon me. This ordinance is necessary as we go forth with a purchasing policies and procedures manual, vice our ordinance on procurement. Our purchasing policies and procedures manual reflects the current economic reality and an inflationary atmosphere, thereby putting us on an even keel with other jurisdictions. So we have to get everything in place to have the purchasing policies and procedures manual take the forefront. One of the things that restricts that is this ordinance of fiscal administration, which is in our charter, which says that we will do it by ordinance, and we're going to delete the word ordinance and replace it with the purchasing policies and procedures manual, which I have just said is much more inclusive. So, when that ordinance is considered, then thereafter we will consider Resolution 2023-14, which is a resolution approving the City of Grantville, Georgia Purchasing Policies and Procedures Manual, which, as it was in your work session agenda, you will note that the big difference is that, as I said, this reflects the current economic environment wherein amounts up to $5,000 can be approved by the department head based on one quote from a reputable vendor. $5,000 to $25,000, 3 quotes, and a purchase order approved by the city manager and the department head. $25,000 to $100,000 requires formal sealed bids, and this is on budgeted items by the city manager. If it's a budgeted item, the city manager can approve that up to $100,000, and everything over $100,000 goes to the city council after sealed bids are received by the city, along with other requisite documents.
So as we delve into and try to streamline and make Grantville run a little more like a business, just like our financial policy statement manual that we did the last time, we don't really have proper procurement procedures identified. And they're identified in our code of ordinances, which are really our laws. That's not where you put policies and procedures. So I want to thank Ms. Higgins. It's been almost 2 years ago that she actually wrote the manual you are reading. And when I read it, I thought it was excellent. We made some changes. Betty Ann Rooks also helped us with this. So again, thank you so much, Robbie. So what we're doing basically here is now creating this purchase order procedures manual to replace what is sitting in a code of ordinances, which is not very clear. But to do that, we first have to make a change in the charter stating, and it doesn't change our form of government, this isn't something simply stating purchasing is found in the ordinances, and then in the ordinances, we're removing those, and then we're going to adopt this manual. Just want to make sure that's clear to everybody. So, questions?
I do, just so I'm clear on this, so a department head can make a $25,000 purchase with covering the bases, bid,
$5,000.
$5,000, okay. But, what,
He can go up to $25,000 with the city manager's concurrence.
okay. But, what was taking council approval was $10,000.
Yes, sir,
Now
anything
that-
over
Now
$10,000.
that's as much as 100 in this year.
Correct, sir.
And the reality of operating a business, particularly in utility, is an example. Several months ago, we had a valve right at the intake at Coweta County break. And fortunately, Joan found one that would adapt right at the $10,000 level. We were looking at having to spend $15,000. Now we know that's an emergency item. We could have just done it. But there are many things like this now that $10,000 ain't what it used to be. So, and the other thing that's going to be different when we get into the budget next month is we have gone through and put together a list of capital projects that we'll be discussing that we'll actually approve. So you can have a good idea of those costs of those capital projects. All right?
All right, I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Hold on, I gotta find my page.
And we do need to make one change. We gotta add the page numbers.
Okay. In 7.1,
Okay?
where it says all purchases over 25,000 require formal bid procedures unless waived by the city manager and or mayor. Why would you waive it?
Sole source,
Yeah, that's in a different section.
that would be one.
Now, you said 7.1,
Yeah, this one,
telephone quotations?
yeah.
Okay.
That was my only question.
This is contemplated, telephone quotation for 3 days for estimate cost of office.
So you've tried to solicit 5?
But then it would kick back to the other chapter where it says sole source.
I'm saying another instance could be where you have actually tried to solicit 5 team members and only got 2 responses.
But then you would still, right, but you would still be getting some sort of response, not none at all. I was just reading it like it was saying that it didn't require any at all if it was waived. It may just be the wording that made us.
I think it's the wording,
You see what I'm saying?
yes.
That may not be what they really meant, but that's the way I read it when I was reading through it. So it was more specific.
Yeah.
I think the instances would be, if you have, and these are covered in other sections, but if it's an emergency purchase or sole source.
Right, I read those, so that was fine, I just didn't, like I said, it's the wording issue.
Maybe it's a state contract or some other.
Yeah, that's on the other
GSA
part.
contract or cooperative purchasing. contract.
Then my other question was on 8.2 under procedures, where this is the formal bid procedures, it's explaining it, and it says if, in addition to sending out invitations, public notice may be given for a reasonable period of time prior to the date set forth for the opening of bids. Such notice may include publication in a newspaper. But then it says if conditions exist where time is of the essence, then bids may be received by fax. Why not email? Why just fax?
Email, fax.
That's what I'm saying, but it just stated
We'll
out
add
fax
email.
and all
No, you're
capital
right.
letters.
We'll add email.
Yeah, that would
Yes.
be easy.
In fact, email would be better.
Yes. In today's world.
Yes.
So that was my only two I found. I told Robbie the other
Okay.
ones.
Other questions?
Yes, I have a question. This procedure, this manual, was this reviewed by the city attorney?
Not yet. He's out of town.
Okay. Well, I know it wasn't reviewed by the council administrative committee because I see several things I have questions about. Number one, it says the authority and responsibility for purchasing in the city of Grantville resides with the city manager and/or the mayor.
That's a
That-
typo. We need to clean that.
What's a typo?
And
And
the
or-
second and/or the mayor, not
The
the
first
first one.
and/or mayor, when the
No,
charter
second.
says that the purchasing agent for the city is the city manager. It doesn't say
That's
and/or.
not what the charter states.
The charter states in section 3.04,
In 3.03, it states if the mayor chooses not to be the purchasing manager. And if we don't have a city manager, the mayor becomes the purchasing manager. You have to understand, there could be a time where we don't have a city manager. Therefore, we have to account for that period. Business doesn't stop just because we don't have a city manager.
if it says the city manager shall, we have a city manager.
If we don't have one, or
we
if
have
he is
one.
out, as an example, Mr. Grieshaber was out for 2 weeks.
Okay, I'll just point to that, this is in conflict with our charter.
It's not in conflict with the charter.
The charter says that the city manager is a purchasing agent of the city. And then another question I had is the quotes 5,000 to 25,000. It says 3 quotes, written preferred. You're preferring, you have a preference that the quotes be written.
Versus
And-
telephone.
And then you go over to another section here where it says written bids are required. So what is it, required or preferred?
Well, you're looking at the next section, isn't that on the larger bids?
Written bids. Written bids are required.
On sometimes, when someone's asking, say we're buying $15,000 valve, a lot of times that could be over the telephone. It's gonna cost you $15,000. Okay, can you just send that to me in email? Thank you. Versus a formal written bid procedure. There are many things we buy that are somewhat to that point.
All I was saying is that are you saying it's required or it's preferred?
It's required on the larger bids, it's preferred on the smaller items.
But over here, it says bids of 5,000,
Um,
5,000 and 100,000. It's lumping them both together on this page, but I'll move on.
Yes,
It's making reference to an Exhibit A, which is a purchase order, is attached. There's no purchase order attached to this. So I didn't see the purchase order was not attached. The sample purchase order that you're gonna start using, haven't been using, was not attached. And then office supplies. Each department is responsible for ordering their own office supplies.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They have a budgeted amount they can spend,
Right.
correct?
Correct.
So you don't think the city would save money if the office supplies were purchased in lump sum and then departments get them from whoever purchased them? You don't think that would be
So
cost
each
saving?
department puts in what they need. We currently go through a central process to order supplies.
It's already happening.
But we don't, if Joan says, I need 5 pencils and 10 pieces of paper, she sends that over, and we say, oh, and Robbie needs 5 pencils and 10 pieces of paper. Great, we put that into one order and we submit it.
Well, it just seemed like it would be cost saving if you don't have departments buying.
But again, we let
at
the
a higher
departments
price.
tell us what they need. I don't know what Robbie needs, just like Robbie doesn't know what Joan needs.
Well, I just have a concern when you try to change things that we have in our charter. Say
We're
you
not
don't
changing
do
anything in the
ordinance,
charter.
Ordinance, you don't, it's saying that you do this by ordinance, then you say, no, we don't need an ordinance, we'll do a resolution, which we can come back at any meeting and change it when we see fit. It just doesn't seem like it's a very,
The resolution
Same
is
thing
to
to do.
adopt the manual.
well, what you did with this one ordinance is you took this whole section out of the
Correct.
charter. You deleted that whole section out
Yes,
of the charter.
we are. Because it's being replaced with much, much better procedures in the procedure manual we're putting in place.
And the city attorney has not reviewed it.
He's going to be back, well, Mr. Mitchell was out of town in Germany and now he has COVID. So we'll be working remotely with him. He will review it. I believe he actually did look at the ordinance change.
I'm noticing that a lot of things are being changed. A lot of things are being changed.
Mhm.
Where the city manager is responsible for it, and you're changing it to say that you're responsible for it. So what are we leading up to here? He's getting paid a 6-figure annually to perform duties that you're taking away from him, that you want to perform. So what
I
are
don't
we-
believe
what are
I've
we
taken
doing?
any duties away from Mr. Grishaber. We work complementary. The things I have strengths on, I do. The things he has strengths on, he does. I don't tell him what to do on those areas. We consult each other, and we are moving Grantville forward by having the power of 2 of us, which, by the way, in the charter clearly lays out with a strong mayor form of government, that I have that ability to move things forward and run things.
So you prefer it that way, that you run everything, right?
I didn't say that.
Well, all these policies that you're putting on the agenda, not going through committee, they're coming directly to the city council.
They don't go through committee.
Changing policy, saying, you know.
Ms. Berry, do you have any more
before it says
questions
city
about
manager, and then you're making it say
Do
city
you have any more
manager,
questions
and
about
then
the purchase order process?
I think it needs review by the committee, the administrative committee, it needs review. Because there are a lot of things in here that are put in here that weren't previously, we weren't operating under that system. So it seems like you're changing the whole form of government for
For
the city.
purchase orders?
The processes by which you operate the government.
That has nothing to do with purchase orders.
A purchase order is making sure you have the money in the budget before you spend it. I know what a purchase order is.
No, not really. That's not the purpose of a purchase order.
What is the purpose?
The purpose of a purchase order is to create essentially the means whereby you can sign up a vendor, either by contract or otherwise, and be able to enable to write that person a check for the services rendered and have a written transaction of that. It's a pure accounting issue.
And you have 3 sets of eyes looking at it before you spend the money. That's the important part of it. I know what purchase orders are and how they function. You don't just write a check, you have to get it.
That's why we have
signed by-
purchase orders. That's why they're signed by the city manager and or myself.
And I would really like to see what we're talking about. It was not attached to the agenda item. What's the purchase order look like? Who signs it?
Here's an example. It's the same form that basically has been being used for a long time.
All right? Any other questions?
I do feel like I should say something. You know, the decisions that I feel like I make aren't necessarily for the present, they're for the future. and no matter who's our city manager or who's our mayor, I'd be much more comfortable with this if the maximum amount was 50,000 instead of 100. Now, when you talk about inflation, I don't think there's 10 times inflation since COVID. There may be 5 times, but not 10. So that's just some food for thought of what I think right this minute about this.
Okay.
I just thought I'd say that. Maybe some
Sure.
other councilmen feel differently. But that's kind of, I just thought I ought to say that I'd feel more comfortable with it if it was 50,000 instead of 100. I understand if there's something that costs $25,000 and it's a basically emergency, go buy it. But the $100,000 is going from what we did take the council of $10,000 to approve, to it's jumping to 100. Just, I just say what I think. That's all.
Okay, we'll make a note of that. That's why we're discussing it.
Yeah.
I also agree that that's like 100,000 is too much without council approval.
Okay.
I quite agree.
Okay, let's make a note of that. I feel like the council feels that's the case, so we can change it. That's why we have a work session.
I want our city employees to be able to function and improve Grantville. But at the same time, that's quite a change.
Sure.
So,
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, moving on. Discussion intergovernmental agreement for wastewater maintenance and service with Coweta County Water and Sewage Authority. Okay. So, we know we operate multiple sludge ponds. And several months back, Brennan Jones and I, as well as Coweta County Water, took a tour of those sludge ponds, where I learned a lot about sludge ponds. Like I like to say, if we were talking telecommunications, I would be the teacher, but I asked them in reviewing them, what do we need to do? Because they pointed out many things that were not being done. And I came back and talked to Jen, who is over our public works, and it really just comes back down to people. What do you want to do? Fix water pipes that are broken, or do you want to go clean out strainers on sludge ponds? You got a choice. So I consulted with Brennan and talked to the county and basically came to the conclusion that the county can serve us better than what we can do. So I asked them to put together a bid for us to do this, and this will be a sole source bid. Nobody else can do this. And this is what they came back with. And basically, it's a pretty much full service of maintaining our sludge ponds, and they will be doing the testing, which means we can replace EMS. And I checked the contract, we can do a 60-day cancel. And basically a very conservative figure, I said, okay, if we did hire somebody, let's just say it's 1 head count, which frankly I think it's more than that. So that's your comparison. And you see what the cost savings we now have, as well as we feel like, look, Brendan said it, Jay Bourne said it, this summer we're headed for an EPA violation. It's just that fact. And that they felt like if we could get in here and start working on it, maybe we can avoid that EPA violation. So that's where we're at. We had to make a few changes to the actual agreement, and Mitchell needs to finish reviewing it. We'll have that at the next council meeting, but it's a fairly straightforward item. And I think this is a move we need to make because we'll continue to bush hog the places, cut the grass, help out if we ever need to, but that's pretty much what this proposal is. Questions?
You said the agreement was not in our packet, that we'll have it at the next meeting?
Yes, ma'am, you can review it. It's to have to make a couple of changes.
The numbers are in this one,
But the numbers are all in
I see the
there.
numbers, I
but
see
not the
agreement.
whole intergovernmental agreement.
No.
No.
The monthly cost is
$6,850.
So wait, how long is this agreement for?
We're gonna do a 3-year agreement.
3-year agreement at this price.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Is this gonna replace an employee that
No.
we have doing,
No.
we're gonna keep the employee and
We
reassign
don't,
something?
understand, we don't have an employee dedicated to doing our sludge ponds. Boots goes out there and takes care of it when he has time, when he's not fixing water pipes. Alex will go out there and take care of it when he's not, working on something else. We don't have a single dedicated employee purely for our sludge ponds. What the employee I put in there is pretend we had to hire one that was dedicated. That's what that would cost per month.
But we do currently have the EMS service.
We have the
that
units, yes.
Is just doing the testing, basically. They're not cleaning it out.
They do nothing but test.
Sampling and testing.
Yes,
So like Kelly County handles it all, correct?
Yes.
Everything.
yes.
This list of work.
So this would solve the problem of us getting these notices in our utility bills about,
No,
no?
this has nothing to do with that. That's drinking water.
This is not sewer.
This is sewage.
So you don't pollute the drinking.
So we don't pollute.
Well, not that necessarily. It's so that we can actually have the sludge ponds working properly, so we don't get EPA violations. I guess I should have put that amount in there that we'd be fined, but, and to make sure they're working and maintained. I talked with Joan about this, and I talked to Alex and Boots. They're very much in for this. They very much feel this is good. Mr. Wakehurst, you have a question?
He's thinking.
No, no.
Any other questions? All right, moving on. Discussion and resolution to adopt and approve the project list and funding allocations for the proposed 2025-2030 SPLOST. Mr. Grisha.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. As we go through this agenda, you will see we're preparing for a referendum by the county to continue our special purpose local option sales tax of 1 cent called SPLOST for the years 2025 and 2030. When the county goes out and puts it on the ballot, they need a list of county projects and city projects for every participant in the SPLOST referendum. So they ask us to prepare a resolution to send to them with our suggested SPLOST project list and the allocations. They told us, this is the county, told Grantville that they anticipate that if the voters approved a SPLOST agreement for 2025 to 2030, that the city of Grantville would receive an allocation total of $5,485,850. And the county wanted to know the city projects and the estimated costs. The resolution before you, 2023-13, spells that out. Roads, streets, bridges, and sidewalks, estimated cost $1,827,369, or a percentage of the overall distribution to the city of 33.25%. percent.
Let me interject right here, is when they say projects, they don't mean, tell us what you're going to do with, on which sidewalk. What they're simply asking for is, of the monies allocated, what percentage is going to go towards this item? And by the way, these can be moved within categories, and you'll have that coming up here. So basically, we really haven't changed from the last SPLOST. I think didn't we increase and decrease one of them, Mr. Rushier?
That's correct. We decreased roads, streets, bridges, and sidewalks, and we increased utility, infrastructure, and equipment improvements. I
think 2 or 3%, I believe it was.
That's correct.
Right.
Utilities went up from 12.25% to 15%, and that was met by a decrease in roads, streets, bridges, and sidewalks to 33.25%. All the other categories stayed the same.
Okay. Any questions?
I have a question. This is the SPLOST. We're sending them a projected allocation for SPLOST. Now, have we gotten any input from the Parks and Rec Commission? Because they're supposed to have input, and we're supposed to have public hearings for these SPLOST funds.
No, we're not. We're having a public meeting. We don't have public hearings for SPLOST funds.
You normally have a public hearing, and you normally have an annual report from the Parks and Rec Commission.
That has nothing to do with this. We are simply providing to the county. We are simply providing to the county the intergovernmental agreement and the projected allocations on the future SPLOST monies of what accounts they will go into.
With no input from the public?
No. One thing we're not changing except for the one we talked about.
I'm not in agreement with this process because this is not right. We need input from the public.
Okay, can we get 1,000 people out in the audience and we'll get some input?
A public hearing.
Can we get 1,000 people out there? Not 20,
You
1,000.
can advertise a public hearing and you will get input. You'll get input.
You'll
from
get
the
5
commission
people.
And not send them a projection that one person put together or 2 people put together.
Again, this is
About
the
the
same,
monies.
with the one exception, this was the same one we did on the last SPLOST, the 2019 to 2023. We have not basically changed the percentages of what's going in the accounts. And understand too, then it is a further process, not in this, that as we prove a project, a capital project, that we identify what SPLOST monies are going to be used.
With the public hearing?
We have a public meeting. We're having a public meeting right now.
Well, I went to requested a record from the city clerk's office of the current comprehensive plan, and it was dated 2021. So we didn't update it. The Parks and Rec Commission didn't update this plan last year.
They don't, who is the Parks and Recreation Commission? We don't have one.
The charter says you shall have one.
And they don't update anything.
The board shall annually prepare and present to the Grantville Planning Commission
Recommendations.
a prioritized 1 to 5 year comprehensive plan recommendation.
Recommendation. They don't tell us what to do with this. It's a
I
pure
know they give us,
recommendation.
they give us input.
Okay, Ms. Berry, we have to get this to the county at the end of this month, because we want to be a part of
With
the
no public
SPLOST.
input.
We're having public input right now. If anybody wanted to publicly input from the agenda, they have the opportunity to do so. They may do so in the next council meeting. But by us not materially changing what we're already collecting for the last 5 years, I'm not really sure what input anybody's going to have. We're not picking out specific projects here.
Well, that's what the comprehensive plan
No,
does.
it's not the comprehensive
The
plan.
comprehensive plan is a very important process, and city manager's well aware of what I'm talking about. 2021, this is dated 2021, okay? This is the city's comprehensive plan. Public input, people come.
That has nothing to
It
do
has
with what
some-
we need to
the
do
projects
tonight.
that
We
we're
need to
gonna
move
use
this
the
forward.
funds
Do I
we
have
have
any other
available.
questions?
So this is a work
Councilmember Barry.
session and you just shut me down whenever you feel like it. And I'm trying to get my point across that why are we speeding through all of this?
We have to get this to the county by the end of the month. It's going on a ballot referendum. That's why we're speeding through it. We have to. We have to. We have to.
It puts a lot of pressure on us.
Well, it's not a big deal.
It puts a lot of pressure on us because we hire staff to keep us up to date and to do things according to schedule and give us time to review things and have input. Not wait till the last minute and shove a bunch of documents in front of us and say, well, this has got to be turned in.
The county
That's not-
did this.
that's not
The
right.
county started their meetings last month. I attended. Okay? This is the county.
And we should not have shut down the Parks and Rec Commission because they're.
Okay, let's move on. Moving on. All right. Discussion resolution okay, we're done with that one. Discussion resolution 2023-15 to approve the reallocation of expenditures among the 2019-2024 SPOS projects for the city of Grantville. Mr. Goucher.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and council members. As you have that resolution before you, you will see the intergovernmental agreement.
Hold on, this is the one we're trying to move the money for the meters.
Correct.
Okay.
You will see the intergovernmental agreement that was entered into on July the 20th, 2017 between the county and the city's specified projects. And you will see that Grantville projects articulated in the intergovernmental agreement are listed there. However, we did not spend money in our roads, streets, bridges, and sidewalks accounts, but we are going to spend money out of our utility infrastructure and equipment improvements for smart meters. So we are requesting the city council to reallocate $500,000 of expenditures from roads, streets, bridges, and sidewalks to utility infrastructure and equipment improvements to pay for the smart meters. That's what we're asking the council to do. And I will say this, the balances in the accounts as of the May distribution of monies, SPOS monies from the county were roads, streets, bridges, and sidewalks, $602,101.41, while utility infrastructure and equipment improvements had $53,506.22. So, in order to pay for our smart meters, we are requesting the city council to do that reallocation of SPOS monies, which is permissible under the intergovernmental agreement signed by the county and the cities.
Questions?
Yeah, I got one question. So these numbers on here are the end of this is the projection for the end of the SPOS. These totals were what was projected at the end of the 2024?
Correct.
Okay.
Other questions?
We
Okay.
will not have a public hearing on this?
No.
No.
Okay. We're having a public hearing, the public is out there. All right. Discussion resolution 2023-16 to approve and adopt an intergovernmental agreement between Coweta County and the city of Grantville for the collection and distribution of special purpose local option sales tax for the year 2025. What this is the approval of the actual agreement for the SPLOST, which is going on the referendum for the November election. Questions?
Has the city attorney reviewed this agreement?
Yes. Questions?
I was saying this before.
It's pretty much the same one we had. Okay, moving on. Discussion on alcohol license application by Michael Marno on behalf of Sanguine Door, located at 13 Church Street, the Bricks. Any questions?
On this one, is this a current restaurant, Robbie? Or is this somebody who's putting in for a new business? I mean, I know they're trying to get their alcohol license, but
Restaurant,
a new one
yeah.
that's coming, that has to get their business license too.
Other questions? Okay.
How many feet are they from that church?
Over 100 feet. They are far enough, and technically it's not a church. It still belongs to Jim Sells, so.
It's not a church?
No, it's not. No church owns it. They don't conduct church in the church. But it happens to be 100 yards away, so it falls into the rule.
They do have church on there. They do have church.
Well, I know someone's borrowing it right now, but the bottom line, they are the proper distance away from the church.
It's more than enough distance. We measured it back when I first.
Yeah, we measured it out. It's.
What about the Baptist church?
Huh?
What about the Baptist church?
Which Baptist church?
Change church.
Oh, it's not even close
Oh,
to
it's way
that.
farther than that, yeah.
That's about a quarter mile away.
Yes, it's a long distance.
It's the Bricks, guys. It's the Bricks is where this is going in.
Oh,
They
okay.
served alcohol before.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Discussion on alcohol license application by Charles Phillips on behalf of Red's Grub Shack located at 24 Main Street. Questions? Okay.
They've done the background criminal investigations on both of these, right?
Yes,
And they passed?
yes.
Good.
Okay. All right. This is a fun one. Discussion on MEAG Power, Second Amendment to the Solar Purchase Power Contract. Let me take this one, Mr. Duchesne. So, our friends at MEAG, who I'm getting to know quite well as they're coming to visit us again this week, presented to us a business proposal they've been in the process of working to develop a solar power facility. It has not been completed. They can't seem to get it completed, and now they're coming to us to ask us to approve this, to spend more money out of MEAG, almost 2.5 times, to complete this process, this project. And by the way, the power that we would have to buy out of it, and it's not a lot, it's about, how many would you say, 5 times what we pay now?
Yes.
About that amount. 5 times what we pay now. And particularly since Vogtle 3 and 4 have come online, nuclear power, much cheaper. The bottom line, Mr. Grishaber-Meyer's recommendation is we vote no on this. I don't know what they're swallowing there at MEAG, but this is not a good business decision to invest in this. And the person that was trying to build it, I think they're trying to even sell it. So you can read at your leisure the entire agreement, but when we come to voting on it, you know, our recommendation is to vote no. Any questions?
I do. I guess other MEAG members will also take the same vote.
We don't know. Well, they'll have to vote.
I
They'll have to
mean,
vote.
you would
We don't know
think
what they're
every
gonna do.
MEAG member
Yeah.
has been proposed this.
Well, if they're a solar participant, we are a solar participant.
Well, bet odds are a lot of them are.
Well,
But
they are.
what if we voted against it, and then the majority of them voted for it? Would we have to, would we be forced into that?
No.
Okay.
What will happen, let me give you a little background. To add another renewable energy source to our bulk electric power supply, we entered into a contract with MEAG for solar power in 2021. 750 megawatts per hour. The contract price was $25.91 per megawatt, fixed for 20 years. That was a damn good deal at that point. Then they had their First Amendment, and we agreed to that. And that price went to $29.06 for a megawatt hour, and the term was fixed for 15 years. But what happened, the solar contractor couldn't get financing for his project. So he said, wow, I need a Second Amendment, and the price will increase to $37.75 per megawatt hour for 15 years. That is a price increase of over $12, about $12, from a period of 2 years. They haven't built anything, but they keep raising the price. Why? Because they can't get financing. So what will happen if we don't agree to it? Our share, which is 750 megawatts, will be put out, and if somebody else wants to increase their share, okay. If not, so be it. But we're not on the hook for this expensive power, especially when Vogel 3 and 4 are coming online.
Right. Okay.
Understood.
Any other questions? Okay. Item that was added to the agenda, second at the MEAG power election, electing the delegates, or actually appointing the delegates. Those delegates, of course, will be myself and Ms. Evans as Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have any questions?
If this is resolution 2023-17 is what the mayor's talking about, a copy of it is on your dais.
Right.
And we have one other item, Mr. Mayor and council members, is that's the discussion on the special event permit.
Well, hold on. Any questions about the delegate? Okay, moving on.
Then we'll have
Discussion
the-
on special event permit, application by Grantville Police for July the 3rd fireworks festival.
Certainly nobody can be opposed.
Me.
Any discussion?
How much is the event going to cost, and where's the money coming from?
How much is the event going to cost and where's the money coming from?
The money's coming from general fund, budget. We budget it every year, and I believe the cost is $11,622.
Fireworks.
It goes up in smoke.
It does. All right,
It's certainly cheaper than in Florida.
that's for sure. All right. It says announcements. Do we have any announcements?
No, sir.
Okay. Citizens' comments, I think we have one here. Mr. Wendell Bryant.
Evening, City Council. I'm Wendell Brown. I live at 156 Arnold Street. And I noticed on the property across from my property is woods, and I don't know who owns it, but we have power, you have city power lines all the way up Arnold Street from one end to the other. And right at the curb, above me, there is a limbs, literally, it looks like another windstorm or a big heavy rainstorm could bring down a tree or something across.
Okay, so let me ask you, is the tree itself on the right of way?
Yes, it's right there at the edge of the right of way, and it's been leaning, and it's
Okay.
in between power lines. And I look at it this way, I don't want to be around if that thing falls, but I just want to bring it to y'all's attention.
Okay, Mr. Bryant, I'll tell you what you can do. Have you ever called into the city to open up a work order?
Mm,
Do
no.
you have an address?
My address is 156, but it's across the street. Whoever
Okay.
owns the wood.
All right, we'll take a look at it.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right. We've been here a long time, folks, so let's not editorialize. City council comments, Mr.
I
Whitfield.
don't have any.
Ms. Evans.
I'm good.
Mr. Clark.
I'm good.
Ms. Berry.
I have a report for the record. First of all, I'm happy to see concerned citizens.
Go ahead.
I'm happy to see concerned citizens tonight. At my last meeting, the city council voted to designate Juneteenth a city holiday, and I requested the use of Griffin Park on Saturday, July 17th, to celebrate this new city holiday. The city has not advertised this event, and I was informed by staff that I must pay $250 in order for the restrooms to be unlocked. I feel that policies and fees should be approved by the city council, and now we're in a waiting pattern to see if we're going to be able to use the restrooms on Saturday. None of our council committees have been able to meet to recommend policy and procedures to help facilitate efficiency and improve the quality of service rendered to our citizens. All four departments, administration, police, streets and public works, and utilities need oversight and review of policies to comply with Charter Section 209. I am yet to receive a response to my questions regarding public records, administrative procedures, job descriptions, organizational chart, and status of the grant that provided COVID-19 pandemic monies to the city of Grantville. Most importantly, I would like to make a correction to a report that I made at the last meeting regarding Grantville's form of government. In my council report, I repeated information from the city website that, quote, City of Grantville has operated under the council manager form of government since 1920, end of quote. That's incorrect. The data that was published on the city website is not accurate. The City of Grantville has a unique, strong mayor-council form of government. This was confirmed. I was able to obtain a copy of the Coweta County Superior Court Judge summary judgment in the case of Douglas Jewell versus council members James Sells, Alan Waycaser, and Mark King, who voted in 2020 to change the form of Grantville city government from a strong mayor-council form of government to a strong council city manager form of government without approval of the General Assembly. In this document, the Superior Court Judge Sacrosanct states that the 2020 amendment, quote, changed the structure and composition of the government. It was significant and improper, end of quote. As our charter provides, I have requested clarification from our city attorney Is there overlap of day-to-day job duties of the part-time mayor and the full-time city manager purchasing agent? The city attorney has not responded. I feel that our chartered form of government is currently being altered. The mayor has advised me to hire an attorney if I'm unhappy about it. Last month, I proposed that the city council consider an ordinance establishing a Grantville Charter Review Commission as soon as possible. It is vital that our charter be reviewed, clarified, and/or changed, and the amendments be submitted to the General Assembly for approval. I also recommend a city council retreat for needed discussions. We need to talk among ourselves. The following record is requested: a copy of the notification letter sent to Ms. Ruby Hines and Ms. Sandra Latrell regarding my nomination on May the 22nd, that their names be added to the pool of names for appointment to the Grantville Board of Ethics. I really appreciate your attendance tonight. The city of Grantville needs your input. This report is for the record.
Mr. Grisha.
I have nothing, thank you, sir.
Ms. Higgins.
No, sir.
Okay. Your full-time mayor wants to thank you for coming out tonight. We're very busy agenda, we've got a lot going on, and we're moving forward, and you're seeing it in Grantville. Things are changing, they're progressing, and we're making things better. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Cut this off.